Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have JT Tran. He is a former rocket scientist, world's leading dating coach for Asian and minority men, founder of ABCs of Attraction. He's helped thousands of men build confidence, overcome stereotypes, fight racism, and succeed in dating. Welcome to the show, JT.
Thank you so much, AJ, for having me on. I appreciate it. And hopefully I can give you and your audience a lot of value.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to the show, JT. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about breaking dating stereotypes. All this we'll talk. But before that, I want to understand about your journey, your background, especially what is a rocket scientist doing into this dating game, helping people. Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, I am a former aerospace engineer. So literally I studied rocket science. So I launched rockets for like NASA, Air Force, did the entire satellite thing. And it was great. But the problem was only on paper was I a good boyfriend. I didn't know how to talk to women. And it really created like a hole in me not knowing how to talk to girls here in America and in the West. So I started like studying like human psychology and trying to understand like girl like culture and like what was missing that women weren't finding me attractive and wanting to date me, because I did like eHarmony where you had to pay and take a personality test, and it ended up like I got rejected by eHarmony and they refunded my money saying I was too analytical, too cerebral. So they're like, hey, we can't find you any matches, so here's your money back. So I studied like psychology, pickup. I created a blog of my adventures and my misadventures and the lessons I learned of how to be successful and like the mistakes to avoid. Until one day, this Chinese Canadian mother called me up who had been reading my blog, and she wanted me to help out her son who had been harassed by neo-Nazis in high school. He had stopped making friends, stopped going out. And so I told her like, ma'am, for 3 days and 3 nights, I'll be the big brother he never had. So I invented the ABCs of Attraction, which is a very holistic, well-rounded way of learning confidence and communication skills in dating. And thus the ABCs of Attraction was born. And, you know, I help all my Asian brothers out there to succeed at dating, especially here in the West.
Absolutely, absolutely, JT. So first to understand, which is more difficult, rocket science or finding the right date as an Asian man?
Well, they're kind of similar in the fact that they're individually, like if you can understand like individual components of like approaching, talking, you know, being funny, conversation, going on dates, it makes the whole easier, right? But when you try to absorb the entirety, like, you know, you can't learn what a rocket is like that. It's very complex. So if you learn the individual parts, like the nozzle, the fuselage, right, and everything around it, then you can understand the whole. So unfortunately, women don't find rocket scientists that sexy. You know, it was cool, but they don't consider that sexy. So I had to switch career path.
Absolutely. So how did you succeed? And from there, we'll learn from, what is it that was earlier on so-called missing in you? And then you found yourself that whole tricks of the trade, you can call it, or the ABC of attraction. Help us understand through your own understanding of things so that people learn from that.
Well, probably like a lot of your audience, I thought that if I made good grades, you know, went to college, got a good high paying job, drove like a luxury car, had a nice place, you know, I would automatically be handed women. So I was successful in that regards, career, education, drove a Mercedes, lived on the beach, but women weren't falling into my lap. And especially here in the West, we as men have to be very proactive in order to find someone to date, in order to find, you know, love, intimacy, what have you. And so I had to study like Western dating and understand what is the transition. And a lot of it's psychology, but also what we call like pickup artistry, like understanding this is how you approach a woman. This is how you make her laugh. This is how you make her comfortable. This is how you showcase your personality. And this is how comfortably, consensually, sexually escalate, take her home, and maybe, who knows what happens after that, or turn her into your girlfriend. Because I've also had many students end up getting married. Like I'm the only dating coach that's ever officiated his own client's wedding.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what is it that Asian men in Asia, if you are there, that is a virtue, that is a strong thing. But when you land in the West, then that whole concept becomes a bit different than how you have grown up, and the Western dating scene, that is totally different, and you may find yourself a misfit. What is it that makes you a bit out of place in the Western dating scene as a Asian man?
So obviously, when we're in Asia, we are the norm. We are the standard of masculinity. Unfortunately, in the West, we aren't. In many regards, we have many stereotypes against us, both like East Asian, Southeast Asian, and South Asian, where we are not considered as manly, masculine, attractive as, like, say, a white guy or a black guy or a Hispanic guy. And so we have to combat these stereotypes that women, not all women, obviously, but quite a few do have like these stereotypes because Hollywood has perpetuated like certain imagery of like the awkward foreigner, like with the funny accent, or there's one really popular sitcom for a while, Big Bang Theory, where Raj, South Asian, who was like super awkward and weird around women and can only talk to them if he was drunk. And so there exist these stereotypes, and part of what I teach is how to overcome those stereotypes. So a woman, whether she's Asian, white, black, Hispanic, looks at us as an individual man and looks past these stereotypes.
Absolutely. So, how do we overcome this? How would you like to enumerate these challenges, and how do we overcome this? How do you tell them, okay, this is what? Is it because of the color of skin? Is it because of the type of color of skin? Is it because of the race? Is it about anything? Is it because of height? Because in the West, it's different. In Asia, not everyone will have a very great height as in comparison to West.
Right. So all of that does play a part for sure. Like aesthetics, what we call like maybe like sexual market value, your height, your hair, your muscles, skin, all of that does play a part. Unfortunately, I'm 5'5", so that's not going to change. So I'm always going to be short. But I always like to say, as much as I wish I was born tall, dark, and handsome, I've learned to settle for being short, stunning, and smooth. So when it comes to approaching girls, you want to exude kind of like a command presence where you show warmth, but also like you can be relied upon. There was like a Princeton study that showed charisma is based off of your likability, but also your competence, right? And so one thing I always suggest to my Asian students, especially those who are from international and have an accent, is we're going to keep it simple. Like how you approach a girl, we're going to keep it simple, not any kind of complex lines, and you're going to go up there in a direct style and compliment her, because that's going to hopefully overcome any stereotype. So one of my very effective direct openers is to go up to a girl and to say, "You are fucking beautiful," right? In just a very dominant manner. And if you say it with an accent too, it blows people's minds because no one expects an immigrant with an accent, because to say something like "you are fucking beautiful," because they expect immigrants with an accent to be like nice and polite and demure. But you come in strong, they're like, "Wow, what did he just say?" Right? And then it's short, it's simple. You're not trying to do like very complicated lines, because if it takes a little bit of processing time and power to try to translate it from your language into English and then reply back. So keeping it short but powerful, I think, is much more effective.
Absolutely. So you talk about confidence. What is this confidence in dating? How do you look confident in approaching a girl? Should you show that you are some, some master of this trick and trade, that you have a lot of experience, or should you be yourself a bit more authentic type? We'll come to the authenticity part separately, but what is this confidence? How do I show my confidence? Is it externally only, or internal confidence is something else? How do we do that?
Well, the way I look at it is in a holistic fashion, where we take a very well rounded approach to it. So, confidence is both internal, right, but also external. Like you could feel like you're the man, but if no one else thinks it, then you're just delusional, right? But at the same time, you can't just simply have external validation. You have to be internally validated. Like you have to see that you have your own value. So you want both. You want to be able to work on like how to manage your emotions, manage your anxiety, manage your confidence, but also project that to the outside world so that people see it through your body language, through your facial expressions, through your energy, right? I see a lot of times with some of my Asian clients, like Japanese and Indian, that there tends to be a tendency to like bobblehead, right? Nodding a lot. In the West, it means something different than it does in Asia. So when someone moves a lot when talking to a woman and you're talking like this, it means like a nervous energy, which can be off-putting to women. So the way you project confidence is both through your body, how you say something, clear with clarity, with energy, but also making sure that you are managing your emotions so that you're not as anxious as you might actually be feeling.
Okay. So you have to change your whole body language, understanding natural things that you have learned. It could mean something different down there, and that is where one of the things one has to keep in mind. Maybe that is that. But what about self worth? How do I look at self worth? Is it because someone else will tell me that I am worth what I am, or is it again me, and who will go out into the market, dating market, and uh, work according to how what I think of myself in a realistic way, not in a delusional way? How should we look at this self worth thing? Is it different than confidence, or is it part of confidence, self confidence?
Well, I think it's important to understand that you as a man have value regardless of how other people view you, right? Like regardless of what anyone says, your accomplishments, your achievements, who you are, your value system, you're a good person, whatever, you have value as a man. The issue becomes is like, how is a complete stranger supposed to know that, right? That you're a great man. Like no one has telepathy. No one has like magical powers to understand you are a great person. You're a great lover, boyfriend, husband. And so in some way you have to project that so that they know what they're getting. Like, oh wow, like JT, like AJ is like a great person. I would be so lucky to date them, right? So you could believe it, but you also have the ability to project it, to speak it, and so that they reflect that value back to you. Like no man is an island, right? We are all connected to one another. And so the way I tend to think of this more is like, how do you open yourself up emotionally to others so that they can see who you really are, right? It's not about hiding it. It's not about like, being someone different. It's about showing other people who you really are. And sometimes what a lot of guys will do is when they're around a really attractive girl, they'll change their behavior. They'll shut down. They'll get nervous. They won't act like she's an old friend. I think one really good thing you can try to do is treat girls like your best friend, like, your buddies. You don't treat them differently. You don't put them on a pedestal. You just joke around and you act like you would for a friend. And that way they get to see that personality. They get to see you open up emotionally and like, and hopefully because you have value as a man, they'll be attracted to that. But again, you as a man have to open up. You can't like shut down and expect someone to find you attractive.
Absolutely, JT. Now, in terms of rejection, it can be for any reason. It can be the person has already, is engaged, has a partner, has a boyfriend, whoever it is, and you may look at it how should we look at rejection when you are approaching other men, especially in the West? How does it work? What is the best for me to see it from whatever angle I want to see it?
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to face rejection, every single one of us, right? And so, how do we process that? How do we see it? Like, on one level, you can think of it as simply a rejection of your technique, right? So, it's like playing sports. You know, you might learn a serve on a tennis racket, but you might be doing it wrong. It might be like the wrong type of serve, right, for your opponent. And so, you just have to look at it as a technique wise. She's not rejecting you because she's only had like 5 seconds to get to know you, right? So there's no humanly way for her to like reject you as a human being. It's just she's rejecting your technique. Maybe there's something wrong with your energy. Maybe you aren't smiling. Maybe you're jittery about your body language. Just something off, right? And so it's not about you. It's just your technique. And another tip I would say to students is try to reframe rejection in your mind, not only as something that you can learn from, but make it positive, right? I say like it's an accomplishment to be rejected because it's one step closer to success. Staying home doing nothing, you're going to get the same result. But you trying, just like try to do 1% better every single day. And before you know it, you're going to have 37x like who you are as a man because you've improved every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In terms of, if we look at one biggest barrier, which is the biggest barrier in terms of, chances for dating, Asian men in dating West women?
So, I mean, there's probably a couple of barriers. Like, obviously, there is the racism that exists in America. So, in that regards, the best way is just to overpower any stereotype. If you look like a stereotype, you talk like a stereotype, you're going to be treated like a stereotype. So come in strong, come in dominant, confident, with just a little bit of like, sexual mystery, but not too much. The other thing too is I see with a lot of Asian clients who come overseas, when they try to date in America, they don't understand like American dating culture, right? They treat dating like it's the same back in the motherland. And so you have to adjust. Like American girls is not going to be like dating like Asian girls, right? So you have to be willing to adjust and meet American women where they are, not expect them to act like Asian girls.
Absolutely. So what about, a lot of men, especially, or women also, if they are going anywhere in the world, they like to first look at the how within their own community, diaspora, if you want to say that. And there also, are they likely to face the same challenges there because you are a newcomer to that scene also? Or is it going to be much more like home for you? Because familiarity, if I as an Indian go to the US, I will look at a lot of the Indians there and try to see, it's because that's the way a lot of people are.
Sure, sure. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Dating within your own Asian American culture, you have the similar languages, history, foods. It's just unfortunate that, there are in various subgroups, some people, not the majority, but some people that are definitely like pursuing, white adjacent privilege, let's just call it that, right? And they would never date another Asian. And it's like, very common. There's like, oh, it's like dating my brother or something like that. To which I say, to all Indian and Asian, brothers out there, be willing to date anybody. You never know who your future love of your life, mother of your child, or just, hook up for the night. Because if you look at the dating demographic of America, if you only date Asian women, we're including all East, Southeast, and, South Asian women, that's less than 1%, right? But if you start to include white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, that's almost 16% of the population. So it is, just statistically speaking, much easier, you're more probably, going to meet who you can date if you open your entire dating pool to everybody. But again, absolutely date Asian women. Just be aware that there are a few subgroups that like they really don't date other Asians. And then it's unfortunate, but there are, in the East, Southeast, and I'm sure, South Asian, there's just groups that just kind of, make fun of international Asians.
Absolutely. And my last question to you is about authenticity, JT. Means going to a new place, adjusting to a new situation, to the new dating scene. How much should I dilute the authenticity part? Should I make it, just little bit of dilution, or I should be ready to dilute enough of my authenticity for the sake of finding the right person in my life? What do you suggest on this particular part? Because a lot of people may have issues with this particular thing, to change yourself fully.
Well, I always tell my Asian clients, be successful because you're an Asian man, not in spite of it. And so I want to embrace my Asianness. Whoever I date, I want her to learn about my Asian culture, my history, language, religion, all of that. Use that as an advantage, as a unique selling position, if you will, to whomever you date. Pull her into your Asian culture and everything like that, right? That distinctive Asian advantage can be, a winning formula. Now, how we project ourselves, again, we're in a different culture, right? Like the way you would date back in like the motherland is going to be different here in the West. Here in America, it is very more accepted for people to speak up, to be very assertive, to be very expressive. I know a lot of my Asian clients, they just no emotional expressions. They don't touch, they don't hug. They don't ever say like, I love you. But in America, it is considered the norm. That is considered confident. It's to stand up tall and to speak in a manner that they find attractive. So I believe that you can learn the technique of externally presenting confidence that is acceptable in the environment that you're in, but also still retain your unique heritage and pride and identity as an Asian man.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn from you about all these things, JT. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you. Asian men would like to connect with you, learn from you, learn more about you, learn how they can be successful in this particular thing, learn about the ABCs of attraction. What's the best way for them to connect with you, JT?
Yeah, well, we have a 30-day free trial. It's like Netflix, but for dating, that they can watch any of our advanced dating videos as well as infield pickup videos from approach to pull. Just go to abcsofattraction.com/academy/special, or just go to abcsofattraction.com. We have YouTube channel, TikTok, Facebook, all that jazz. Check us out.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, AJ.